we monitor all the resources. Not the way I grew up, but I started off saying, like web things like I know that now it's like ridiculous.
It's only gonna let me or you in, right? Tell us, promise you.
Just the resources, just to get the resources.
I'm sorry? Oh, do you?
There's still other people that are supposed to be here.
He was nominated.
Well, that's what I have to tell. I was like, I asked myself, I don't think we're gonna hit the 10%.
I mean, you may, but we also based on what they heard. This is completely. Don't come to this. It's probably don't get it first.
Yeah.
I guess based off of everything.
So we got that, we're still gonna have to swing where we have to. We have to bring laptop over.
No, I'm just gonna turn it. I think that worked well. I think that worked well.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I was telling Bill.
Very.
We'll see, right? Serious. I like your voice when you make me
Maybe be embarrassed.
Work for the piano. Yeah. I used to work for him. Yeah. We've got a lot of new things. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, it is 7 o'clock. I want to double check with everyone who is attending virtually to listen in on the Zoom. We can make sure everyone can hear me okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and start with let me see if slides. Okay, We'll do that one. We'll go ahead and start with the candidate opening statements. So go ahead and start backwards of alphabetical. And
Okay,
we'll
so
go ahead and do like.
that's it, okay, perfect.
Here.
Thing up to the board. We're gonna fix the technology.
Wheel. All right. Glenn, you get to go first this time. Let me make sure I got a good video of you right down there.
Let's see.
Okay, my name is Glenn Young. Don't know if many of y'all have went in and read all about me and the rest of the candidates. I'll cover just a little bit of it. I'm from Paris, Texas, which is northeast of Dallas. Born and raised there, graduated, went to try to play basketball in college for a little while up in Volleyball City. And that didn't work out, so I ended up going to the US Navy. So I spent 4 years active and 4 years reserves in the Navy. Once I got out there, I started to work in the medical field, working as first as a technician. And while I worked there, I went to Latorno University and got my bachelor's degree. Once I finished there, I was promoted up to an operations manager. And I worked as an operations manager for about 5 years. Left there, went to another company, worked as a district manager. Main focus on daily activity of all costs. Fortune 500 companies, $1 million budgets. And that included recruiting, hiring, firing, getting contracts, getting qualified bids that's best suited our how would I say? Because I had numerous locations, so that just would suit what works best for the company. And after that, I spent about 25 years in the medical field. Then I started working for Benton Enterprise, which owns McDonald's, 20 McDonald's franchises. So I worked there as in the maintenance department and working with getting contracts, bids, doing repairs of what we could do. And like I said, getting bids from the outside and making sure we go with who was the best candidates. So I think my background really fits here because we're going to be pushed to the limit as we'll be taken over from the developer. I think we're going to have some very effective, creative ways to save money. And I don't think just throwing money solves all problems. I think you have to be able to use what resources that you have coming in. And so that's my promise, is to try to make sure we're good stewards. And my time's up. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. All right, we're gonna go ahead and go to the next candidate. Oliver?
Hello everyone. My bio is nowhere as great as Glenn, obviously. But my name is Olu. As you can tell, probably tell I'm not particularly from the US, right? I moved here a few decades ago, came here for grad school, and since then I've since been opportune to work in various industries in the US, be it the consulting industry, food industry, and now in the traditional supply chain industry. In my day-to-day, I manage a lot of individual logistic locations, and basically trying to harmonize operations in every single one of them, whereby like, how can we drive operational excellence, right? In the business that I do, right? Sorry, I know it sounds like I'm in an interview now, but really in the business that I do, right? What we do is we try to serve to the best of our abilities in an industry where like it's very cost sensitive. How do we drive the most results for our people? How do we make sure that we drive the best service at a reasonable price point, and just thinking of ways to deliver value for others, thinking of ways to do that for our customers, whether for the client, or even for our internal stakeholders. All of this is to say that I think I would fit in this role from the angle of just thinking about resourceful ways of how can we improve this community, right? When we think about what would be our North Star long term, what do we want to do here, which is how do we make this a much better environment for us all, right? And there are three ways where I'm really focusing on that, right? First is like budget transparency, right? In what we're saying, right? Again, borrowing from Glenn here to again, right? We can't always throw money at problems, but like, how do we make sure we understand what our priorities are, and how do we make sure that we prioritize them, right? Long term, short term, what is actually good to have versus necessary. That's the first one. The second one is also like disciplined decision making. When you think about like budget transparency, right? Then for you to then make decisions, then it needs to be disciplined. It needs to be aligned with what residents want, what is safe, and what also drives the best result for each and every one of us. And then finally, right, like when all of that is done, we then need to improve communication with residents, right? So just to tie it all together, I live in this community. It is a wonderful place that has been home to me, and I really enjoy living here. I think we could always deliver great value for residents by having like better budget transparency, disciplined decision making, and also improve communication with residents. So I appreciate the opportunity, and again, I really love being here, and I'm glad all of you took time out of your day today to come. Thank you.
All right, our next candidate is Tim.
Hey, thank you, everybody being here. My name is Tim Loveland. Me and my wife have been here for 11 years. We've purchased 2 homes. One's over here at High Meadow, and then we recently bought a house back in 2019, right at the Fairway Estates. And the reason why we kind of stayed here, because we truly believe that this area and this community and its future. I'm retired from the U.S. Air Force. I was in security forces. I was made the rank of senior master sergeant. And then I'm just recently been, well, I wouldn't say recently, it's been the last 8 years, I've been an emergency plans officer for the Austin Police Department as a civilian. Helped them navigate a lot of different issues, especially resourcing during times of emergency, planning for special events and that kind of thing. So I've been kind of centered around the planning, collaborating, and keeping organizations navigate some difficult situations. And then for many of my off-season hours, so I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm also a referee or official for high school football for the Austin Football Official Association. So every Thursday and Friday nights, I'm usually getting screamed at by many different people. So, but it's part of the deal, right? And I'm also a very, very active member of the Veterans Golf Association. I help organize some of the state planning for some of the big events that we have around the state and across the country. So, so why am I doing this? Well, I just want to be part of the community. I think that's part of who I am. And one of the things I said during all my career choices, especially the one I'm in now, it says I can't fix it if I don't know what's broken. So one of the things that I just want to get in here and try to figure out what a good collaboration, what we can do. I just want to bring some transparencies, communication, some effective collaboration, and a respectful collaboration as well. And my goal is simple. I want to put ShadowGlen in a better place than it was when I found it. So that's who I wanted to do. So thank you.
Manuel?
Hello, everybody. My name is Manuel Jimenez. I've lived in ShadowGlen for the last 10 years. Originally from Lockhart, South Austin area. Served 20 years in the Air Force, also security forces. When I got out, came back to Austin, and then moved to Maynard. I've served as an Austin Community College police officer. Worked at Travis County Constable's office as a chief deputy, where I managed a budget of $1.8 million, and also was the chief of police for Concordia University, which also managed the budget there. Currently work for Texas Education Agency, where I oversee 26 different counties. We do audits of the the school districts and the charters, that making sure that their physical security is being maintained, that they're following emergency management, and they're doing behavioral threat assessment. I've served on the City of Austin Veterans Affairs Commission as vice chair and the chair, and also served on the Travis Austin Recovery Group board. That was a long-term recovery group after the floods in Southeast Austin that happened. We stood that up to help out with long-term needs. By education, I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a master's degree in national security. So I decided to try to be one of the board members. Wanted to make sure we had a smooth transition from the developer to the residents. I think I have a lot of same concerns that everybody else has being a resident here, and just want to be able to make sure that, you know, we're transparent as possible, communicate, because those are the things that I've always wanted to as a resident, and don't feel that it's always taking place. So I want to be able to do as much outreach as possible. So thank you.
Everyone is going to be speaking from the studio. If not, we need to be good. I think there's still some.
Go ahead, Joe.
All right, good evening. My name is Joe Carrington. Thank you for the opportunity to say some things about me. My wife and I moved down here about 3 years ago. She's a retired school teacher, 32 years in 4th grade. I don't know how she did it. I'm currently the chief financial officer for a nonprofit group based out of East Texas. That does behavioral health care and primary care. And you can tell from my accent, I'm from Northeast Texas. Hopefully you can understand me. But I've had a lot of opportunity to serve in public service. I've served 8 years as a city councilman and the mayor for 2 years for the city of White Oak, which was a small town of about 6,000 near Longview, which is about 2 hours east of Dallas. After that, I had the opportunity to serve 13 years as a community college board trustee and president of Kilgore College, home of the world famous Kilgore College Regrets, if you're familiar with them. And also I served 9 years during that time on the state board for community college trustees as well. And my favorite role was 30 years as a volunteer firefighter EMT for the city of White Oak. So in all those 20 plus years of board serving, you know, I've never received any money. So guys, if you're counting on a paycheck, you're going to be disappointed. So I think you have to have a heart for public service. Believe it or not, people may say some unpleasant things to you and about you when you're serving on a board. So you can't take that stuff personally. So I've had a lot of experience dealing with different types of stakeholders and people and working with people. And I think that experience will be of value to this board. And I appreciate your attention. Thank you.
All right, and Alex?
My name's Alex Braden. I didn't talk about myself too much last time, so let me give you all background. I originally grew up in California. Please don't hold it against me. I did my undergrad work out there at a small liberal arts college that none of you have ever heard of in public administration. Then I decided to move to Washington, DC, where I got my master's degree in public administration from George Washington University. I then spent about 6 years out there at the city of Alexandria, Virginia, in the budget office. And then we decided that we wanted to move to Texas. So my wife and I packed up and we moved out here. We've been out here about 7, 8 years now. I lived in Northeast Austin for a little bit and got too small of a house, and we decided to come out to ShadowGlen and get a bigger place. And we've been here for about 4 years now. My day job, I work for the Travis County Budget Office. I'm one of the assistant budget directors. And my portfolio primarily consists of public safety and criminal justice functional areas. So sheriff and constables and emergency services and stuff like that. So that's my day job, basically staring at Excel, looking at spreadsheets, trying to figure out how to spend $2 billion of taxpayer money, forecasting, performance management, goal setting, all of that kind of fun stuff in the budget office. I have 2 kids. One is going to turn 7 next month and one is 4. I think we have a chocolate lab who would be mad if I didn't mention her. And like I say, we're really happy to be here. We've loved being in ShadowGlen. I'm your current resident elected board member for the last 2 years. And I'm running to stay on the board, I think, just primarily, well, I'd like to keep the momentum going that I think we've been building over the last little bit with Michelle and trying to get some things done and get more things done. And two, to really try and provide some continuity to the board. Again, the other 2 board members don't live here. They won't be on the board. And so just bringing some continuity for the other 4, have a little bit of transition help, I think would be good. And again, keep trying to make ShadowGlen even better. So that's my time.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move to the question and answer part of the portion of our event tonight. So if we're gonna go ahead and start with Glenn, you want to go ahead and pick the first question? Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer.
Same question.
These are not the same questions.
Not the same questions?
No.
I have to give my answer already. Question number 10. What are your recommendations for getting residents' inputs on suggestions for making ShadowGlen an outstanding place to live? That is a great question. Seems that we already have Facebook set up. I think one thing we could do, if we could, again, we'd probably have to check and get the best quote for it, is to maybe have a newsletter. I want to say it's kind of old style, but a paper pack, a newsletter. I know some of you probably wondering, well, okay, then how do we get that out to all the 2,200 residents? I wish I had all the answers, but that's why I'm running to try to get some of the answers. But besides Facebook, the number one, Michelle already sends out a news update. I see that all the time on emails. I would say we really have to take advantage of all the technology that's out there. And as I'm out talking to people, one of the homeowners I talked to, she says, I'm on my time, so I'll get it next time.
All right, Olu?
So recommendation for getting resident input, right? I think we already got it. Question number 10. Just mistake. Yeah, question number 10. Recommendation for getting resident input on suggestions making ShadowGlen outstanding. Right. So I think ultimately, right, like you mentioned, Facebook, there's a lot of info that Michelle and her team sends out to every one of us. And I think what we just need to bring to it now is maybe adding some structure to it, right? Like, how do we maybe use data to like maybe identify what people want, what like basically as a way of getting people to participate a little bit more. So I think we already do a good job of that. What we just need to do is bring some structure to it and then maybe add some sort of feedback loop, right? Whereby like, okay, well, now we're sending this info, now how are people communicating with it? And that way, when we are able to get that feedback loop, we'll be a little bit better and more data-driven in the decisions that we make, and we'll be able to defend it. And then it also keys into that transparency conversation that I mentioned, right? Everyone feels a way that they can contribute, they have a way where their voice is heard, and they also see how that decision is being made. It's not always going to be a popular vote, but at least people would know that they were able to put their voice out there and people understand it. So that's my opinion.
All right, thank you. Hey, Tim?
Okay, so this is, I was thinking about this earlier today, and one of the problems I think we're running against, we get all the social engineering proper platforms we can possibly get, Instagram, Facebook, telephone, whatever, all right? It works. It only works when we have reciprocal information that comes back. And we need to find, and I don't know what that solution is going to be yet, but I mean, we got a great showing here today. I'm sure, I don't know what the Zoom numbers are right now, but I mean, sure, we got some things going on, but just in the past history, we haven't gotten that big feedback report back from the residents, right? So whatever platform we use and get the input, we really need to get that reciprocal information back. If we're not getting that back, that means they're not getting it. So whatever platform, surveys, town halls or whatever, whatever we can do to get that information back. So we as a board can make a logical, factual decision. Oh, right on the button.
So what I'd like to do is set up like office hours, let everybody know, through different means of communication, days that I would come up to the clubhouse here and maybe for an hour or so say, I'll be out here for an hour. You have any concerns? You need any questions answered? I'll make myself available. I think that can be done in person or virtually also. So different means, as far as everybody's already said, social media, I think we should leverage all the different types of communication that, are available. And of course, surveys. I think, surveys going out to the residents, and for us to get that feedback, I think it's very important, especially when we're trying to make important decisions that's going to affect everybody as far as, financially and that type stuff. That, like I said, those are the concerns I had. I would like, more communication, and that's, what I would like to do.
I got a minute, is that right?
That's a minute.
Okay. Well, these guys have kind of hit everything I would probably do. Surveys would go, maybe a board committee with board members and residents that would research some of the tools that are out there to communicate and get a loop back to people. I've gotten surveys from Travis County and Manor ISD. I started one, it's a little bit long, so I quit. We don't want to give you a 50-page survey, but we do want to get some feedback from the community. It's with using some of the best tools available that we can afford, obviously.
Thanks, Joe.
So, one thing I learned in the budget office real quick is I don't know everything, right? I'll never know social work as good as social workers do, and I won't know police work as good as people who are responding to 911 calls. And so to be effective in my job, I've got to learn and study and talk to people, and I need to get their opinions and insights and perspectives and use their experience. And so I think what the board's going to have to do is something similar. We're going to have to set up some resident committees that are going to help advise the board on various topical issues, right? We have a landscape committee. We're going to need a budget and fiscal affairs type committee. We're going to need to redo the architectural review board. And there are a lot of skill sets in there that I think a lot of residents have that can provide a lot of good input to the board. So I want to get some resident committees set up. And then I've talked previously about the lack of tools that I have right now as the board member to communicate and engage with you all. And I think we're exploring some of those new possibilities now. So stay tuned.
Glenn?
Oh,
Oh,
no,
you started.
yeah, if we go to the button.
Oh, if you could take the next one.
So, question number 15. Question number 15, what are your recommendations on improving communication between the board and the resident, right? So again, this is very similar to that, to the first question, the question we just answered, right? And I think mostly, right, a big part of that is that feedback loop and making sure that the communications that we get, we're able to get feedback from residents. We're able to make sure that they're part of it. And I think leveraging technology is what will help us, right? Like maybe people are just too busy, people can't come into the office. And I think even Manuel's point about like office hours would be great, but it might not necessarily be available for everyone. But I think it just still goes back to like first listening to people, seeing what gaps exist, what communications that we're sending out that people are not giving us feedback on, and then just finding the sweet spot of how we can get that information to them. So again, leveraging technology just to find out where we're getting the most input from residents. That's what I'm going to say we focus on, just fixing that feedback loop.
Thank you.
I'm not the smartest cat in the boot here, man. I'm telling you, and sometimes you have to speak plain language to me, right? I I'm sure he could read a budget Excel spreadsheet the best of everybody, but you put that in front of me, it's a tragic Greek drama. So I'm not gonna be able to read it, but so I think a lot of things that we need to do as a board to communicate resident, we just gotta be plain factual statements. We can't go dive into some technology or technicalities on exactly what we're deciding. We have to pay, some people don't have time for detailed information. They just need plain structured information and so they can make a decision. So that's just mine.
Of course, I listed, some ideas a while ago, but also, during our last, meeting that we had, the meet and greet, I talked to some of the residents here and they also brought up that as far as like the board meetings, people don't always have time to attend those board meetings. So they ask, why aren't they recorded and provided on the website? So I would be open to doing that. I think that's a good way to communicate also to the residents that and it allows transparency on what we're talking about, what we're, so you have time to go look at it at a different time point. Say, okay, I couldn't make the 7 o'clock meeting, but I can look at it tomorrow or next week or in a few weeks or next month. I think that would be an important thing that we could do is, as far as transparency and being able to communicate is record those board meetings and, allow access to them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, we want as much participation as possible from the community. So not everybody responds to things, Facebook. Some people may not have Facebook. Some people may not like text, but we need to use as many methods of communication that we can to reach the community that we can afford to do, obviously. I know I don't post a lot of things on Facebook just from previous experience in public service. So I would, advise the guys here not to get overwhelmed on Facebook. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, tools wise, there's a million different tools and things that we can explore and look at and discuss costs on and everything else. I think it's just really important to remind people that in 7 days' time, there are gonna be residents running the board. And they're gonna be residents making the decisions for the first time in 20 years. And we're gonna help with that, right? We need as much input from you all as possible. We don't have anyone to blame anymore except ourselves if we don't make ShadowGlen what we want it to be. And so we need to hear from you all, and there's gonna be different conversations and different ways and different things we're gonna have to come up with to get that information from you. But I need your help. I need your opinions, I need your perspectives, I need your vision, so that we on the board, whoever ends up serving, can make the best decisions possible that reflect what you want ShadowGlen to be. We have that opportunity now, it's time to make it happen.
Thanks.
Some of the things I think, of course, as the other candidates mentioned, Facebook, emails, TikTok or whatever, but I think one of the most underutilized is the committees. I think we all need to be on committees, some type of committee, whether it's the lawn care, we need to form a maintenance committee, financial committee, some type of committee. And Henry Ford once said, and he told his people, for every customer you lose, multiply that by 10. Then you multiply that 10 by another 10, and you'll see how many customers you're losing. So in saying that, on our committees, get back to more of word to mouth. Even though some information may not be correct, you guys can come up and talk to any of us. You can talk to the management team, and they can let you know what's true and what's false. But I think it's just getting back to the basics. And as Alex said, we have no one to blame this time. We can't blame nothing on Russ no more. It's us.
Okay, we're gonna go with the next question.
All right, question 2. You got it? Give us your thoughts on what transparent means to you. What it means to you. Basically, transparency transparency means residents understand how decisions are made. And they may disagree with the outcome, but they need that transparency to understand why these decisions are made for the betterment of the community. So when we don't do that, we leave a lot of residents guessing. And that's how rumors, conspiracy theories, and all this mess goes out, you know, until there's a fact-based, somebody looking at a piece of paper to tell you exactly what's going on and being transparent about it. That's what I means transparency to me. I mean, we can have all the board meetings and then everybody can conspiracy theory later, but until we get the facts out, straightforward, no kidding, this is what's going on. That's how I see it.
Yeah, so transparency for me is, you know, being informed as far as being able to give facts to the residents and also working amongst the board with, you know, facts and also not holding any secrets. Also, and that's kind of one of the point that I like the idea of recording the board meetings because that's full transparency there. You know what was discussed. Also, you know, of course, I'm on social media, so I've seen things posted that, oh, so-and-so said this at the board. Well, you know, it's hearsay at that point. Some of it's gotten, you know, misinformation or somebody has an agenda. And at that point it gets, you know, running away where you don't know what was actually said. If it was recorded, you can go back for yourself and go look, say, okay, the board was discussing this. This is decisions or what they're making, or this is, you know, the facts that they had to use to make that decision. So I definitely believe that, you know, that's one of the main things that could help with the transparency and also with the newsletters, you know, providing as much information or the office meetings or the office hours, you know, being able to explain, hey, this is what we're facing and this is why.
Right on the bus. Okay, for me, it's a simple definition. It's what I see is what you see. And we need to understand the audience we're communicating it to. I work with a lot of clinical people, and like Alex, if I give them a spreadsheet, their eyes are going to glaze over and they're going to start rolling in the back of their head. So you got to understand who you're dealing with and how to communicate to them. So can a fourth grader understand what I'm telling you? So it's how we communicate. We need to be as transparent as possible.
Thank you.
Pretty similar to the answer I gave last week, right? Posting meeting minutes and financial reports and everything online is transparent. But if you don't understand them and you can't read them and you don't know the rationale for the decisions we're making, it's really not that helpful or transparent. And so I think we're going to have to engage in quite a bit of an education campaign to help people understand the issues we're facing and why we're making the decisions that we do within the context of certain items that might be attorney-client privileged or other things like that. So I think we need to do the best job we can in trying to explain the rationale and explain the logic behind our decisions, because simply posting things online for you all to consume doesn't necessarily equal transparency. So.
Thank you.
Transparency to me, I'm sure all of you have heard it. It's just been going over and over. Transparency to what? The number one thing we have to do is we have to trust the data that's been presented to us. That's the only way you can have true transparency is if you trust the data that is presented. If there's good communication, having respect for everyone on every opinion they have, whether you think it's right or wrong, but respect that person's opinion. And I think if we get to those points where we believe in the data that's been collected and everything is presented to us, I think that is true transparency there. Thank you.
So transparency in this context is making sure like residents understand the decisions that were made, what information was available to the board when they made the decision, and ultimately where we like how we got there, right? And I think when you even think about that, it's something to be, and I know everyone has mentioned really great points about it, right? But really we need to think about it right from even the start, right? Maybe if we're leveraging like committees or certain review board or even assessment studies, right? Just making sure like right from the beginning, right? we make sure it is clear. If the review board comes with an information, with a decision, it is also clear to us, and not in too technical detail, but something that is just clear to everyone, right? And like Alex said, not just posting it online, making sure like everyone is aware of it, right? And they're aware of it, and it's in simple terms to understand what it is. So we're not bearing an expensive renovation or maintenance under like, oh, well, we got the budget anyway. We actually talk about it, make sure the town halls and people really understand. So that's what it means to me. That's what transparency means. Thank you.
Want to go ahead and pick the next question?
All right, so question 16. Would you as a board member feel comfortable receiving questions and concerns from homeowners without conveying your personal opinion or representing the board as a whole? And the answer to that is yes. Of course, I like to be approachable if I'm out answering any questions. If you see me, out and about in the neighborhood or shopping at HEB, for me, that, I would definitely be, available to answer any questions. But with that, of course, I'm gaining information. A lot of the stuff wouldn't be decided till it went before the board, so I couldn't speak on behalf of the board itself. So that would be one of the things that, I would definitely remind people that if I'm speaking on a personal matter, that I'm not speaking for the board. So I would make sure I use that disclaimer at all times if I'm, relaying my personal beliefs. Oh, wait, let me read it. That's up there.
Take me a minute to read the question.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
So, as a board member, you're not here to have a personal agenda. You're here to serve all the community. So, I prefer face-to-face versus social media for obvious reasons. So I could give you my sincere personal opinion on things, but I'm going to treat you respectfully. I may not agree with you. As board members, we may agree to disagree sometime. That makes it a great board. We just don't want a groupthink board that votes yes for everything. So, I have no problem with receiving questions from homeowners and listening to them.
Well, 2 years being on the board, I've gotten a lot of questions. And I have been somewhat hamstrung in my ability to respond to them and communicate with you all and do the best I can. And so I'm forced to use Facebook, and it's not ideal and I hate it, but I want the questions and I want to be able to talk about your concerns and things with you. I think there is a way that we can express our individual opinions on certain matters, say how much of an assessment increase we support as individual members and our rationale behind that to you all. But at the end of the day, we've got to collectively make a decision. And so the management company really should be conveying the information in terms of the actions that the board took. And we as board members shouldn't really be trying to explain the decisions of the board. Just our kind of personal decision-making process behind it. So we have to figure it out. But
Well, I would definitely be open to anyone coming in, any of the homeowners coming asking me about an issue or issue that they may have or suggestion that they may have. I said a while ago that I thought word of mouth is very important, and so I stand by it. So I think that the answer probably back if someone said, hey, why don't we do this, or why are we not doing this, would be, well, hey, I'll take that to the committee. Ever which committee that's handling that issue. We'll discuss it with the committee. Then from there, it can go to the board. And that may be something that we can implement, or to say, hey, we looked at this and it's just at this moment, it's just may not be in the budget, or we may not have the staff to take care of it. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, the question, would I feel comfortable receiving questions and concerns from homeowners without conveying my personal opinion or representing the board? I mean, the question really, what would be the point then of serving on the board if I can take questions from the homeowners that I claim to serve, right? Like, it doesn't make any, I should be able to take that, and I will be willing to take questions. But then it's also important to have a discuss transparency and like just clear communication. It's also important they know like you'll be only one member out of out of the 5 members of the board, right? And so it is clear, it is important and even respectful to make sure like you make it clear to them, like, yeah, I'll take this when we have a meeting, I'll bring it up to the board, but the decision making does not lie with me alone. But again, it's just about making sure people feel heard. And then not just that, you also follow through with that. And when we actually go to the board, you also bring that in from, like, hey, I heard about this, I've heard quite a bit of it, and let's discuss it, right? But short answer is yes, I'll feel comfortable doing so. And I'll also have no problem communicating that it's not just my decision, the decision of the board. Thank you.
So, you remember in the opening statement I made was that, I can't fix it if I don't know what's wrong, right? And I would definitely, absolutely, I won't speak for the board, but I would definitely bring it back, especially because like I told you, I'm a jack of all trade, master of none. I might not have the answers right away, but I can consult with these guys or whoever's on the board and figure out what it is. And he hit the nail on the head when he said, of course we're going to take people's interest, man. I mean, what are we here for, right? So we've been back in the day, when I was in the military, we had this in a lot of my military friends, we have the open door policy, right? We as board members should take that input at all times so we can feed that back to the board. Thank you.
All right, Joe, you want to pick the next question?
Get to pick my own. I may regret it. Let's see. Okay, why did you select ShadowGlen as your home?
11.
Number 11.
No one knows that question.
Question 11. Well, my wife and I are from Northeast Texas. We didn't know a lot about Austin. Austin's kind of like a foreign country to us. Moving from Northeast Texas, a small town of 6,000. So as we looked all around Austin, we thought we liked the location. We really liked the location and the people we've met. And it was a good location for me at the time to travel to downtown Austin. And it's just moving from East Texas to here. Now I have to get used to the HOA concept. So that's why I'm running for this board, because I believe I have a lot to offer for that concept for all the community as well.
So as I mentioned before, we were in Northeast Austin, kind of near LBJ, and we needed a bigger place. And we decided, we wanted to stay north, and my parents live in Waco, so 130 is great. So where should we look? And ShadowGlen pretty much popped up first on our where should we look list. And we put in an inquiry and we came back over here, and none other than Trent, who some of you may know from Perry Homes, was waiting there at the door. And Trent actually sold me the house that I was currently living in Northeast Austin with a different builder. And so Trent and I worked together and we just decided this is where we want to be. It doesn't take a very far drive outside ShadowGlen to see that despite our challenges, we are best looking, best managed community in Maynard, and we need to keep it that way. And I'm glad to be here, and I would take our problems over some of the other problems I've seen on social media with other HOAs in the area any day. So.
Glenn?
I think some of the reasons why we chose to live in ShadowGlen is as we can look around it, diversity. Another thing, we've been out here, me and my wife have been, and kids have been out here for about, say 14 years. And some of the research we done on it, it was gonna be one of the biggest growing areas. And from the looks of it, and we have our new town center, as I heard Manuel once said, I think this is probably be our last home we buy, because we now have everything we want here, and we don't have to leave Maynard if we don't want to. So to me, it became homegrown. So we enjoy it here.
Why did I select ShadowGlen? The golf course. Really, no, really, I'll say, when I came here, right, I spoke to my people ended up becoming my neighbors, right? Hey, what do they think about the community? And they're like, yeah, it's great, they love it here, it's quiet, and it was wonderful. And I remember shortly after I closed, right, I came here at night, it was quiet, it was peaceful, it was safe, and the people just seem to be a lot nicer. And I'll tell you this, because I'm coming from the New York, New Jersey area, so people are a lot nicer in Texas. So came here, people are a lot kinder, nicer, it's a quiet neighborhood, it's safe, and I've loved it here, I've grown here, I've started a family here, so all of this is to say, when I came here, I felt like home, right? The people who were living there also validated it. And also too, like I started off with, the golf course, really nice here. It's great, and it's one of the reasons why I want to serve on this board, and to also make sure that I continue to make this a wonderful place to live in. Thank you.
Twofold here for me. I'm from down the street in Giddings, originally before I joined the Air Force, and Manor used to be a blinking light at where the Starbucks was at when I was a kid, right? So, and Austin didn't begin until 183. So it was kind of one of those things. And we were searching around houses, and I had aging parents, and they live in Giddings, and it's just an easier commute for me to get over there from ShadowGlen. That was one of the main reasons. But the other reason was we knew the growth potential here from the get-go. When we started seeing I mean, they always said when you get a Starbucks, you're gonna explode right after that. So we kind of had to wait it out to get our HEB, but we got it. So but anyway, a lot of the potentials, and like everybody else said, this is a friendly, quiet neighborhood, except for the 4th of July. But it is very quiet. So thank you.
Well, for me, before coming over to Maynard, I was living in Southeast Austin. It got pretty busy, hectic. It's getting busy here, but the main reason why we moved over here was my daughters were in the Del Valle ISD school district at the time. They didn't really have a large a college program for their high school. So Maynard ISD had that. They had the college high school, the early college high school. So we decided to move here basically for that. So both my daughters, of course, have graduated from Maynard ISD years ago now, but we decided to stay because, we definitely liked it. At one point in time before that, our plan was to get them through school and then move. But in the end, they've graduated and, well, we like it here. We're going to stay. So that's the main reason why we moved to ShadowGlen.
Number 13, who's a good one? Do you think new amenities add value to your property value? How do we add amenities while keeping costs down?
That's not a softball.
Yeah, that's not a softball. So, people have asked me a lot about, can we get a pickleball court? Can we get a dog park? Can we get a community garden? Can we get a whatever? And my answer to that is, I would love all those things. However, we have a lot of things right now that are in significant states of disrepair and deferred maintenance. And we got to get our house in order first before we start trying to build new and shiny things. And that alone is going to be expensive before we get to the new stuff. So one of the challenges I think we're going to have as a board is to try and figure out, can we manage redoing what we need to redo and maybe add some new stuff? And are you willing as residents to pay the costs to do that? Because it will not be cheap. And the money is coming from nowhere else except you all. So lots more discussions to come on that.
Well, number one, I think the new amenities will add a lot of value. I know when we were looking around, the one thing that really got my kids and grandkids excited was the slide. They loved that slide. And as my kids got older and they moved on, our grandkids come down here every now and then. The first thing they want to do is they want to go to the slides. So But I think in getting those new amenities, we own the property in Round Rock over in Chandler Creek. And they just had a new playground put in with a basketball court, with a volleyball court, with a trail area. And that was funded by the mud. So it didn't even come out of the community budget. So I think that's one thing we have to do, start doing, is looking at all the funding that's out there and see what we can come up or see what we qualify for. And if not, then we may have to do a one-time special exemption as far as $50 or $100 from each family. Thank you.
I think answering this right, definitely new amenities would add value to the properties, right? And it makes it an even better community to live in. However, right, the truth of the matter is we need to prioritize. We would need to make sure that any decision we're making, it is financially sustainable, right? We would need to basically look at like, what are the things that we need to maintain? What are some of the short-term, what are some of like maybe the maintenance that maybe we defer delivery? I know the roof is something that we've always talked about. A lot of people have spoken about the playground, right? But long story short is this, right? We would just need to do a whole lot of prioritization, make sure we get the house in order, and then focus on long-term planning so that we can actually understand that, okay, well, the basics, right? The things that protect us from getting sued and make sure we're safe. We focus on those, and then whenever we can, right, maybe leverage off of other opportunities where we could get funding, but really just making sure like we have a solid foundation, focusing on what's necessary, what's needed, and then from there, once we take care of those basics, then we'll be better prepared to handle the stuff that are the good to have. So I'm all for it. We just need to have solid foundation to do.
Of course, we all want new amenities, and I would love to have people have a pickleball court or a basketball court or volleyball court or beach volleyball court, whatever. I would love to have all those amenities, but you know, it's going to determine what costs that we're going to be doing it with. And as Alex has said, you know, we got to get our physical house in order and get our infrastructure set first. I mean, when we start putting too many balls in the air, something's going to drop. And I would love to have a new amenity, but if we're forgetting about the amenity over here, we're going to drop all the balls at one time, and then we're going to be really stuck with a lot of different problems. So yes, I want all the amenities we could possibly get, but we have to do it responsibly. So thank you.
So the first part of that question, yes, I do believe it does add value to our property. But like what everybody said, you know, priorities, you know, are we going to be able to afford it? Got to take care of certain things first before we can move forward. Of course, once those things are taken care of, I think, you know, that open communication with the residents to find out if we can afford it eventually, you know, what do we want to do? Or, you know, give or take, you know, it's like, well, if we decide we want to move this, you know, we may not be able to do this. So, you know, build a partnership with the residents to communicate, you know, what's wanted and what's needed, and then go forward from there.
Well, I think so. Obviously, we all want new amenities, but one of our major obstacles as a board is the deferred maintenance issues we have, as everybody's mentioned. And, you know, I do have some experience with that. At Kilgore College, we had buildings built in the 1950s, but the community wanted new programs at the same time. So the board had to do some serious long-term planning with that deferred maintenance, and also about new programs that the college wanted as well. So the board's going to have to work collectively together to help solve that issue, and I think this board can do that.
I think that was your question, right, Alex? All right. Glenn, you get to pick the next question.
All right, question number 12. As a board member, how would you put your opinion aside and make a decision in the best interest of ShadowGlen residents? First thing I would do is just listen to everyone. And the number one thing I would do is see what's best for the community. See what's best for the homeowners, not what's best for me. Probably being honest, I'd probably fight, and I'd probably whine if it didn't go my way. But I would accept it. I would accept the final answer because I know it's in the best interest of the whole community. And I think if we work to do what's best for the community, we all succeed together. If we don't, one thing we do know is that we'll fail together. And all of our values are dropped. So, you know, whether we like it or not, we're in this together. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I would like to borrow from is there was a training that Michelle and the team basically handled for us where they mentioned the importance of like fiduciary duty, right? Like where responsibility, which is like when we think about this, right? We also it's not just wanting to serve, right? At the end of the day, you're not just coming to lead. The reason why I don't think coming to lead the community, you're coming to serve, right? And think about what are the stuff that make community-wide impact? What are the things that like according to our governing document, right? What are the things that we should be prioritizing? And I think when you focus on that as the North Star, like how do we make this community better? That is one of the things that I think would help at least me, for example, to make sure that I remember like, what is my goal here? To serve the community, not to serve me, not to serve Olu, right? But more to serve the community. And also too, right? Like leaning on the experts, right? Like, hey, the research studies, the committees, all of these people, right? That are telling us about like, hey, what money do we need to put aside? What amenities should we be focusing on? What are the maintenance that we should be doing? Once we focus on the North Star of making the community better, I think it will definitely help make sure I reorient myself focusing on what's better for the community and not just what's best for me.
You know, personal opinions, everybody has one, right? So, I mean, we all do have a personal opinions, but when you're put into these kind of positions and throughout my career, as me and Manuel were talking earlier, as you move up, when I moved up in the career and moved up in rank and all that kind of stuff, I really had to learn the hard way to set my personal opinions aside and just base everything on facts, policy, and we call it mission at the time. So, kind of the same approach, you know, we need to, yeah, it looks bad on the outside. In my personal opinions is XYZ, but based on the information I have in front of me, I have to go with that information. So that's how I do.
Yeah, I think putting my personal opinion aside would be very easy because I think, you know, doing what's best for the community in the long run is best for me since I am part of the community. So, I mean, to me, I think in the end, that's kind of a moot point because if I'm acting in my personal interest only, I don't think that's going to benefit myself in the long run as a homeowner because I'm facing everything y'all are facing. But I agree that, you know, a fact-based approach, looking at all the facts, looking at all the research, looking at all the experts, especially, you know, the neighborhood's a large neighborhood. We got a lot of people in a lot of different career fields, a lot of expertise. And I think that's why those committees are important to be able to listen to them and lean on them for, you know, expertise. And I think, you know, even within members on the board is listening to them, keep an open mind and hearing those different points of view, you're able to change your mind, say, hey, you know, I didn't think about that idea. You know, that's a good point. So I think it'd be very easy on my behalf to be able to do that.
Well, I believe you have to have a heart for public service, and I believe in servant leadership and putting others first and me last. And you know, doing my homework on whatever issue that comes up, that we're doing the best for the community. And then I'll feel good if somebody calls me up and cusses me out, which has happened to me. I feel good about the decision I made in the long run, that I've done what's best for the community versus what I want to do. So.
So, you know, my day job is trying to make recommendations to policymakers on how to do things. And politically, sometimes I agree with where they're going. Sometimes I don't, but it's not up to my personal politics. It's up to the data. And I let the data tell the story, whatever it is. And I make the best recommendation that I can as a professional staff member that's based objectively. And so I believe I can keep doing that on the board. The other way I would say is, you know, similar to how I described it last month, we're all shareholders in the HOA. And so one of the things that I've been doing on the board now is thinking, okay, if I was a shareholder, how would I feel about this decision or that decision? You know, if we have $300,000, we want to replace the playground or build a pickleball court, and everyone wants to build a pickleball court, I may still have to do the playground because in the interest of the community, it's better than a $3 million lawsuit from a kid getting hurt. Right? So you know, we've got to sometimes put some of those personal things aside and remember that we're all here to serve all of you.
Is that our last question? Okay, one more question.
Yeah, last one and then we'll go again.
In the real time.
Question 6. How would you handle requests if approached by an individual? So, yeah, I think the first thing is just just listen responsibly, like listen. And first, at the end of the day, like these are the members that we serve. These are the members that basically pay to keep this community the way it is. And I think in addition to listening to it, right, follow through, right? Like, is it a management issue or is it something that's related to the board? Maybe someone is complaining that maybe they haven't mowed the back of their home, right? Just making sure they know who the right person is, right? Listen responsibly. And also to make sure, back to the question that we discussed earlier, I think it was question 10 or thereabout, which is make sure that you're not listening to this thing. You're not making commitments to the board for the board or saying, oh yeah, we'll make sure I'll do this or X, Y, or Z. But make sure you listen, make sure you route it the proper direction. And if it's board related, make sure I follow through by bringing it to the board and then making sure that we also communicate that. Like, hey, people have reached out and just that follow through, right? The say-do ratio, okay, yeah, we'll follow through to make sure we also do follow through. That is what I would.
I was thinking about this when he was talking, and I was chuckling to myself because you know, a lot of the times, especially when I'm officiating football games and I'm the head referee and I'm dealing with a coach, I just let him talk. I let him get it all out. Tell me what you want. You know, tell me what's bothering you. And I think a lot of the times with homeowners, especially homeowners in this neighborhood, they've invested a lot of money and time and effort into this area. They just want to be heard. And if I can get them to be heard, I can take those discussions back to the board and try to find the right answer, or tell them, hey, we can't work it, but we're going to do this. We're going to try to find a way to help them out. I think the majority of the time we get the stiff arm and any kind of business, and just sometimes you just got to be heard. So.
Yeah, so like I've said earlier, you know, I would definitely welcome being approached, and, you know, I'm open to the discussion, listening. You know, I think listening, like was said, is important. Also being able to provide, you know, referrals. You know, it's like, okay, this is, you know, this is a county issue. This isn't really an HOA issue. I may not be able to give you that answer right then and there. If I don't know the answer, you know, I definitely follow up. So, you know, I don't know. Let me find out if this is an HOA or management issue, or is it a county or city issue? Of course, we're not in the city, but we're so close to it, sometimes it ends up becoming a city issue. But I would definitely, you know, just not listen, but make sure the follow-up, if there's follow-up needed or requested.
Well, I think, you know, everybody's, you know, the number one thing is to listen to what people say. I've had some people come up to me this evening with some good ideas I didn't think about. And, you know, we need to understand, as one member, I don't speak for the entire board. We all have an equal voice on this board, but I would, you know, listen to what you have to say and route it through the appropriate channel to get it addressed. But I'm not going to speak for the entire board on the issue.
Yeah, I don't think I have much more to add than what has already been said. I mean, listening is an important part of my job, and I want to listen to you. I'm very tall, so I'm very visible. Some people may not find that approachable, and I am as approachable as I can be, or I want to be as approachable as I can be. So feel free to reach out. But there are a lot of requests that I've gotten over the past 2 years that have nothing to do with ShadowGlen. And it's simply because they don't know that we have a MUD, and we don't know that we're getting police services from the county and not the city, and all of these kinds of things. And so some of that's just a little bit of an education piece, but obviously as one board member, I can't make a commitment to anybody or a promise to anybody about any course of action. I can just listen to them and help them route it if it needs to be routed, and otherwise bring it back to the board and we'll sort it out.
Feeding on to what Alex just said, is, again, there's not much I can add to it, but I think if someone approached me, again, I would respectfully listen to them, hear what they had to say, I couldn't make no promises to them. But I would probably let them know I would follow the proper chain of command. Find out which board it needs to go to, or which committee it needs to go to. And then I would definitely get their name and number so I could at least, give them some information back to them to let them know I didn't just blow them off. And then just get with the board and see what we come up with. And again, if it's within the bylaws, and then just get back to them and we just go from there. Thank you.
All right, so that is all of our questions for tonight. I appreciate everyone's time coming back here. We lost connection.
Any questions from the floor?
So, we're gonna go ahead and, I just want to send out one more shout out, to all the homeowners to please take the time to vote. As a reminder, we do need a percentage for this election to be valid. Right now, we have we're about halfway. So we still need every homeowner to place their vote. Hopefully after tonight, you know exactly who you want as your new board members. And we look forward to sharing those results next week. Next week is going to be the special meeting. During the special meeting, we are going to resign the current 3 board members. And we will announce your new resident controlled board member. So thank you for everyone to come out tonight, and I appreciate your time and have a great rest of your night.
What happened to taking questions from the floor?
You can have a question for them.
Why don't we take questions from the floor? Can someone answer that for me, please?
So we are having a reception, and homeowners are more than welcome to come up to your candidates and ask your question. Absolutely.
Well, why don't, everybody needs to hear the question, not just individuals.
And
Is that something in the bylaw